Okay, so this is for biology. It's about the respiratory system. So the purpose of your respiratory system is to bring in air that is high in oxygen to the cells in the body that need that oxygen. Also, the purpose is to get rid of a waste. In this case, the waste is a form of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, there you go. And then you can see in this image, these are the major parts of the respiratory system. This muscle called the diaphragm, the lungs, obviously, these little what are called bronchioles, or this tree that extends from your trachea, your larynx, that's where your vocal cords are located. Your pharynx is the back of your nasal cavity and your oral cavity. So the respiratory system responsible for bringing oxygen. This is breathing, okay? The lungs are the main organ that make breathing possible. They can inflate when they fill with air, and they decrease in size when you exhale. So your thoracic cage, if you put your hands on your ribs right now and you take a breath in, you'll feel that your rib cage actually expands, and it pushes out and forward, okay, to make room for those lungs to expand. Other parts of the respiratory system, you got the nose, the nasal cavity, also your oral cavity. Your pharynx, which is just another word for your throat. So it's the back there. And your larynx is your voice box. Maybe you know it as that. That's where your vocal cords are located. When air goes down into your throat, it's going into the trachea, and you can feel the little ridges of cartilage in your trachea and your throat. And then the lungs, of course. Within the lungs, you have these bronchi, or the tubes that spread out from the trachea. And at the end of those tubes, the bronchi, we have these little alveoli that look like little grapes at the end. And they're inflated. The diaphragm, right here, is, like, this is my lung model. It's in the front of my room. This stretchy stuff at the bottom of the lung model represents the diaphragm. The lungs are represented by the yellow balloons. There is a small hole up here. This represents your trachea. So the diaphragm is a muscle underneath the lungs. That's very important. It can contract or tighten. When it contracts, it gets flat. And when relaxed, it is dome-shaped. Okay? So what actually happens is when the diaphragm is relaxed, it is dome-shaped, and there's no air in the lungs. When it contracts, it flattens, and the lungs inflate with air. Relaxed, contracted. Relaxed, contracted. Relaxed, contracted. So the reason why air goes in and out of your lungs has to do with relationship between volume and pressure in the lungs, and the diaphragm is crucial to that. And you might also be familiar with the diaphragm because if you ever had the hiccups, that is when the diaphragm contracts really for no real reason. Okay, so the most important part of respiration, or the ability to breathe, happens after the air goes through your lungs, and it's in the bronchi where the alveoli are located. So gas exchange happens in the alveoli, and they are located, remember, at the end of that bronchial tree. And you can see in this image here, they look like little clusters of grapes, and each one of them is covered by this net of capillaries, which are the smallest blood vessels. And at this location is where the diffusion of gases happens, where oxygen goes into the blood and carbon dioxide goes into the lungs. So carbon dioxide is exchanged with oxygen, and this happens at the alveoli. And somebody that has a condition like emphysema, it actually punches larger holes in the alveoli, which makes that exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen not a very good exchange. So that is the end of the respiratory system.